What's good, Raider Nation? Chef Mike's back again with number 3. So we've gotten good views on our other 2, so now we're gonna do a really good dinner. 3 is one of my lucky numbers, so we're gonna do some steak today. So we got these Choice New Yorks we're gonna cook today. Very, very good. So Choice is gonna be your best marbling, unless you get into like the Wagyu beef and stuff like that. But if you go to your local market, this is one you wanna get, especially when you're cooking New Yorks and you wanna impress some people. The reason why we're doing this for the main part is every time you go to somebody's house, someone says they can cook a steak like you love it. I want a medium rare steak, I want it on my plate, and it comes out like boot leather. I can't stand that. So let's not do that today. I'm gonna show you how to impress your friends. We're gonna do a cool sauce on there, so we'll talk a little bit. So it's gonna be 3 parts to this. So we're gonna do some mashed potatoes, and then we're also gonna do a caramelized cream sauce to go on top with a little bit of caramelized onions. So you're gonna get to see a full meal today. So it's gonna take a little time, so bear with me. We're gonna do some things. So we're gonna start by getting our meat ready. So sous vide, we're talking sous vide. So this is one of the best ways to cook a steak, to get the most juiciness out of it, to get all the flavors to come out, and to not overcook a steak. So the French term sous vide means to cook under vacuum. So we got vacuum bags, and we're also got a vacuum sealer here. So let's explain what we got about sous vide. So sous vide means to cook under pressure. It's a French term. So we're gonna use the Instant Pot today to do that. Like I was telling you last time, you can use this for so many things. That's why it's so vital in the kitchen. I love it. So we're gonna do the sous vide version of this. We got some vacuum bags that we're gonna use. We got a nice little vacuum sealer here. You can go and get the big, bad, expensive ones, but honestly, I mean, if there's 2 people or 4 people you're cooking for, I bought this guy for like 20 bucks. So you can make it affordable so you can actually do this, or you can use the resealable ones. They actually do make plastic resealable ones that you can actually put the meat in, seal them, drop them in, and you can wash them, use them again. So that's another good way to do it. So what we're gonna do, like I said, we changed it up a little bit with these. I got these nice big fat New Yorks, and the reason I did is because once we cook these, you're gonna see that this meal is gonna be good for 4 people with 2 steaks. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start trimming some of this fat off of it. I just kind of want to get, I don't want all the fat. I mean, of course, some of this fat's inside, so it's really yummy, but we don't want to do that. We want to take just a little bit off the outside edge on this one, just to make it a little bit more uniform. Because when we sear this, that fat's gonna be so yummy. Okay. All right, perfect. So now, another mistake people do when they're doing sous vide is they put too much salt on the steak. So once you got this, it's gonna be cooking in here for about 1.5 hours. So you do not wanna over salt it. If you put too much salt in it, it's gonna magnify it because it's cooking under pressure. And when you put that steak on a pan and saute it, it's gonna be just intense, too much salt. So we don't wanna do that. Like I told you earlier, you can add salt later. If you put too much salt on, you can't take it out of the meat. So we're not gonna do that. So we're gonna go in with just a little bit of salt. I mean, I'm literally just gonna put a light coating on there and a light coating of pepper. We can season it a lot more later, but what we're gonna do now is we're gonna let it cook in its own juices. So that way you're getting all the flavor of the meat. You want that meat to more come out versus too salty. Salt and pepper. Okay. So now we'll get the vacuum bags ready. I'm gonna stick these guys in here. And I got some rosemary and some garlic I'm gonna put in here just to add a little flavor to the meat. You can put whatever you want. Some people put butter in there. I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil in there. I got this fresh rosemary, of course. This is gonna give you the most flavor. You can put thyme, you can do all kinds of stuff, but I'm just gonna release this garlic here so that way it kind of crushes just a little bit to get some of the oils out of that too. So let's give it a nice little smash. Go right in. Perfect. Now I'm gonna get some olive oil. Just give it a light little drizzle in there. Because remember, every time you put something inside here, when it vacuums, it's gonna go straight up to the top. So you gotta make sure, I know a lot of people think they can put marinades and stuff like that, but when you do that, it's gonna make a mess in your vacuum sealer. You'll see why. All right, so we got that all in there. Kind of bring it down just a little bit. So you got that top part that needs to seal. Like I said, this is foolproof. You're not gonna mess up your steak this time. All right, so now we're gonna go to the vacuum sealer and we'll show you how to do that, and we'll seal these up and then we'll get them into the water. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in here. Make sure the meat's away from the center here, because then it'll stop the vacuum. So what you wanna do is stick it in there like that, close. You're gonna push vacuum and seal. You're gonna notice how this is gonna take all the air out of the bag. This is what we want. You're gonna see all these flavors gonna go right into the meat. So we're just gonna keep that closed, and it'll automatically seal after it's vacuumed. All right, we're good to go. Once the red light's off, push these tabs, and this is how we want it, just like that. All right, go to the second one. Do the same thing. Pop it in there, close, vacuum and seal. You're gonna notice how fast that takes all the air out of the bag. See all the oils just going through? That's impressive. That's what you want to get into that meat when it's cooking slowly. Like I said, these are gonna be cooking for an hour and a half, so. Sealed, done. All right, so we got our steaks ready to go. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the Instant Pot and how to get it ready for the sous vide part. So we're gonna turn this around here so you can see it. All right, we're gonna go straight to sous vide right here. And then we're cooking beef. So we're gonna go down, turn it to beef. And you're gonna push enter. You can change the temperature on this to whatever you want. I stay at 135 because I want it to still be a little rare, because we are gonna sear these in a nice hot pot afterwards. So I'm gonna push this here, and we're gonna go for an hour and a half. That's exactly, I don't wanna go any more than that. If you're doing any like tri-tips or stuff like that, you can definitely go longer, but on this great choice meat, you don't need to do that. So I'm gonna put there, and then you push start. And it's gonna start preheating. So this is a good thing to do a little earlier than, you know, before obviously you put the steaks into your vacuum seal. It doesn't matter because you want these to get to room temperature anyway. So if you do this and this takes a little bit of time to get up to temp, that's fine, because literally you want these to kind of be room temperature. You don't want these to come right out of the refrigerator and right into the water. So I'm gonna let that get nice and hot, and then we're gonna put these in. So give me a couple minutes, I'll be right back, and then we'll see how these go in, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now we got up to temp. So now you notice on here it comes to 130, so we're gonna have an hour and 30 minutes to cook these. So after we vacuum seal them, we're gonna drop them in here. You wanna make sure that they're fully submerged. You want them to cook evenly. So you don't want half of it, and then if you need to at some time, these for the most part are gonna go down, they're gonna stay down, so you shouldn't have a problem with this one. But if you do have a problem with some lighter foods, they do make little clips that you can actually put on the bags and holds them in the water, because you want them to be cooking evenly. So we're gonna come back, we're gonna give this about, until we get about 40 minutes left in our cook time, and then we're gonna start cooking our potatoes. I'm gonna start prepping them real quick, and then we'll go to that point. So that way I can show you guys, you wanna make sure whenever you're cooking a meal that everything comes out at the same time. There's nothing worse than having a nice steak and some cold mashed potatoes. So that's what we're gonna try to avoid. I'm gonna show you how to use your time wisely, and then we'll make everything come together really nicely. All right guys, so now while this is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and go into our mashed potatoes. So another good thing about mashed potatoes, like I said, they go good with everything. Obviously, I live in Idaho, shout out to Boise. But I can tell you right now, we're a big meat and potato place. So as we're cooking this, we're gonna make these mashed potatoes, and the good thing about mashed potatoes is all that yummy steak juice that's gonna get on that plate is gonna go right into those mashed potatoes. So you wanna make them kind of creamy. I do not like lumpy mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna show you how to make some mashed potatoes that are gonna guarantee be nice, creamy, and you're gonna love them. So first things first, we're gonna peel them. Got my handy dandy peeler here. And you always wanna have some water on the side to put these in. You don't want them to turn. So like I said, we're waiting until the 40 minute mark to drop these into the hot water. So I'm gonna prep these early so that way everything goes nice and smooth. There's nothing worse than doing everything at the last minute. We don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna get this, and so they don't turn brown, you want some nice just water, regular room temperature water is fine, in a bowl, because when I cut these, you don't want them to change color, but it's also gonna help kind of clean them up a little bit. So I'm just gonna pull this off. It's my least favorite thing to do in the kitchen, just so you know, is peel potatoes. All right. Got our potato ready to go. And to cook a little faster, instead of leaving them whole, I'm gonna cook them in kind of a bigger cube. And it helps them when we put them into the ricer as well. If you don't know what a ricer is, after this show, you're gonna rush to the store and get one. Trust me, it makes life a lot easier. So it's this guy right here. So these have different ways to actually move the bottom. You kind of want to, I don't know if you can see that nice, but this is gonna make it so that the potato, when it's done, you put them in here, you push down, you're gonna crush, and it's gonna rice them into little small aerated potato yumminess, whatever you wanna call it. Once that goes in there, we're gonna heat up our butter and our milk, and we're gonna incorporate that in there, and you're gonna move it around, and it just instantly turns creamy. And like I said, we'll come back to that and I'll show you how to do that, but I'm gonna finish cutting up my potatoes and we'll be right back. All right, nation, we're back. We're gonna cook some caramelized onions now. So I do have a sweet onion. You can definitely use whatever onion you like. I like the sweeter onion because it gives it that nice caramely sweet flavor that I want to match with this. Like I said, when you're cooking stuff like this, savory, sweet, contrasting flavors, everything's key to a plate. So whenever you're cooking, obviously you're gonna see it first, so visually you're gonna love what you're seeing. And then second of all, you're gonna smell it, so you're gonna smell that yummy steak mixed with the cheese and the mashed potatoes. That's gonna entice you to eat. And then third is gonna be contrast. So we wanna do a little contrast. So you got that savory steak, I'm gonna add a little sweet onion to it, so that's gonna give it that flavor that we need, because then you're gonna have that creaminess and richness of that cheese sauce. So easy way to cut an onion, we're gonna go down, take both the ends off. Like I said, for this one, we're not doing dicing, so we're just gonna slice it up. So I just wanna go in half right there. I'm gonna take the skin off. And like we talked about in the first couple of them, you wanna make sure that you keep your finger tucked, knife like this. So we're gonna go across here. You want some nice thin cuts. When you get to that part, flip. Not missing a finger. So we're going in one more time. Easy. All right, so now I'm gonna turn my saute pan on. You wanna get this really hot at first. We're gonna drop a little bit of avocado oil in the pan. Then we're gonna add these onions to it, and I'll show you how we do this. All right, so now you see that we have a nice hot saute pan. Just a little bit drizzle of oil. Going with our onions. And I'm only using a couple things for this because I want the natural flavor of the onion to come out. So we're only going to do salt, pepper, and just a pinch of sugar. Put our salt. cracked black pepper. And just a little pinch of granulated sugar. That's going to help them caramelize on the bottom, so it gives them that nice sweet flavor. Like I said, you want this up high because you want all the natural flavors to come out of these onions. So I'm going to spread them around and let them cook. And then we'll come back and show you how they finish. All right, so I drained my potatoes. We're gonna go ahead and add those. Our timing's getting about right. I'm about 40 minutes left on the steaks. And like I said, there is a 15-minute chill time, or resting time, I should say, for these steaks once they come out of the water. So I got my pan here ready to go. My steaks to come out, and I'm gonna go ahead and add my potatoes right now to the water. I got a nice pot going on. The nice thing about this pot is it's a dual, so it's got the straining on the bottom too, so that way you can just pull this out instead of sitting there having to go back and forth and strain them into a strainer. This has it built into it. So I added that on there, and I just added a little bit of salt for flavor on these. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my potatoes now. And we'll be right back with the steaks. All right, we're back. Now we have our potatoes off the oven. So we're gonna go on to the ricing part of this. Like I said, this is a ricer. We're going to use this to put the potatoes in, and then we're going to make these nice and soft. So we're going to go in right here. Just going to add a few in there. You're going to press down. And see how those come out all nice and pressed for you. Just going to continue to do this till you're done. We did 3 russet potatoes. Especially for like a family of like 4, this is plenty. If you really like potatoes, maybe beef it up to 5, but I try to do like 1.5 per person. Help that go through there a little bit. So we're back. Now that we have all this riced, you can see how nice and easy that is. We're gonna go in, I did a little butter and milk mixture. You wanna add this in here, and you wanna add it in kind of warm. So I generally put it in the microwave for like a minute or minute and a half. You just gotta be careful whenever you put milk inside a microwave. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but sometimes it'll spill everywhere. So always keep your eye on it if you can do that. And also we're gonna use a little bit of ranch seasoning packet. This is what's going to give the potatoes a little flavor. So just going to go in there with that. And then with these, you want to fold them. You don't want to agitate the potato too much, because if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to make super gummy and starchy. We don't want that. That's why I did it this way. And just add, like I said, to go whatever consistency you want. I want a nice creamy consistency that's going to hold up. We're going to do a nice little timbali on the plate, so that way it looks really nice. But it almost comes together just like an instant potato. You got no lumps. And like I said, whenever you do this on a plate, it's going to be nice because it's going to sit up really nice and high on the plate. So I'm going to put just a little bit of black pepper in there too. And then we want to taste it just to see where we're at for flavor. All right, so we're good there. Let's see where we're at. Almost there, just a little bit more. Perfect. All right, so now we're good to go with the potatoes. I'm going to set those aside. We're going to go to the steaks. Actually, before we go to the steaks, one more thing. Let's set this aside too. We're going to open these steaks up. They've been resting for a good 10 to 15 minutes already. You want that. That's necessary whenever you're doing sous vide. because after this, once we sear them, a lot of people, once you cook a steak, you're gonna want to rest it. You don't want the juices to go everywhere. In this case, once we took it out of the water, everything's going back into the steak, so all those juices went back. Now we can take it out, pat them dry, season them, and we're gonna go to a hot skillet. And when we put them in that hot skillet, you can season it really nice, and we'll put a little bit of butter and some rosemary in there, kind of brush them and scoop a little bit of that butter on top of them while we're cooking them. That's gonna give it some more flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and open these guys up and pat them dry. Like I said, doing the sous vide for them, these didn't cook over the 135 mark, so these are perfectly going to be a perfect mid-rare when we sear them. There we go. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to season it. I got this salt blend. It's a salt, pepper, garlic blend. I like this because that's basically what all you need on the steak, salt, pepper, and garlic. So we're just going to go ahead and put some of that on there. Flip them over. Make sure we get a good coating on each side because we're going to sear these all over. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to set those there for a minute. I'm going to get my saute pan hot. We're gonna go ahead and do the Caramelized cream sauce real quick too. So this is a Caramelized, it's a triple cream, soft cheese, kind of like a brie, but it has a little hint of blue in it. So we're gonna take the rind off the outside of this guy. And you can eat the rind if you're gonna do that for like just eating it on some crackers, I guess. But you don't want to do that, put that rind in there when we're using it for a cream sauce. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off. Set that aside, and then we're going to go into, I got some warm heavy cream over here. We're going to add this to it, and we're going to stir it around and just let it incorporate. So we'll go right over to this. Put all that in there. We're going to let that kind of cook, and we'll be right back to sear them steaks. All right, so now we're going to take our steaks into a nice hot pan. I got this up about medium high. You want to hear that sear. As you notice over here too, we have our Caramelized cream sauce. This is the consistency you want. You want it nice and cheesy like that. So all I added to this is heavy whipping cream, and then the cheese, and then also I just a pinch of salt for flavor. That's ready to go. As you see on the side here, I got our caramelized onions that we started earlier. Those are ready to rock. And then I also got a little bit of corn that we're going to add to the potatoes to give a little vegetable on it too. So like you see right here, we want a nice crisp caramelized color. We're going to get a nice sear in there. And then also, like I said earlier, we're going to add a little bit of butter towards the end, and we're going to finish it off with a little bit of butter. Just want to get some crisp on all sides. I'm going to turn you over here. See that beautiful caramelization we got going on there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of butter. A little bit of rosemary. And a clove of garlic. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to move these steaks a little bit, and we're going to take some of this butter and all the stuff that we got here and just kind of put it on the top of the steak. You want all this flavor here as it's cooking. Just keep in mind, we only need to go up 10 degrees to get this to where I want them, so we don't need to go too far. But you want all those flavors from the butter and the oil and steak to go back onto the top, so we're just basting them. You also want to get that nice little fat cap on the top there, so I'm going to turn it on. I like to crank it up on there, flip it up on that cap. You don't want to forget that too. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the steak. A good sign of a steak as well is knowing that it's medium rare is you're going to see a little bit of blood start to trickle out of the steak. You see this already starting to happen here. That's generally when you know a good medium rare is going to be reached. I'm going to flip these back down. The nice thing about this, like I said, we won't have to rest these afterwards. We're going to take these right off of the stove top and we're going to go right onto the cutting board and we'll be able to cut these right away. It's not going to lose any of its flavor or any of the blood's not going to come out of the steak. It's just going to be cooked perfectly. I'm going to flip these back over. This is kind of what you want to get. You want to get that nice crust on the outside of these. Got everything warmed up here. Just about there. Alright, now that we got that nice caramelization on these steaks, go ahead and pull these off. Oh, look at that beautiful crust on that steak. Alright, so I'm going to pull one of these aside. So I'm going to show you how to plate my one first. Set this guy aside. Alright, like I said earlier, you don't have to wait for these to finish. Once they're ready to hit the grill, they're ready to go. So before I cut this, we're going to set up our mashed potatoes. So go ahead and grab my potatoes. You can put all your potatoes inside there. And we're wondering what we're doing with the corn, so the corn we're going to use to go on there too. But in layers, we're going to do a little bit of cheese. This is just like a Kobe mix. And we're going to go ahead and add some of that corn. Nice and hot. It's going to melt that cheese down. It's going to make it so that the potatoes stick to it. We're going to add a little bit more of the potatoes on top there. So you want to kind of pack it in there a little bit, so that way when you pull it off it stays together. Presentation purposes, a little bit more cheese on top. We're going to add a little bit more of that corn on top. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and slice into the steak. Perfectly. do this here. Go ahead and go with the steak on top of the plate here. Fan it out. Just a little there. Then we're going to go on there with our Caramelized sauce. See how nice and cheesy this is. Perfect. Now we're going to add some of these caramelized onions to the top of it. So, I like a clean presentation, so after this I try to get everything else off the plate. So if you see anything on there, just wipe it down. And then we're going to go ahead and lift up our olive here. All right. So this is a beautiful dish. Definitely impress everybody that comes over. You see the steaks cooked perfectly medium rare. And the combination of the contrast in this plate is amazing. So be right back. We're going to get some wine. I'll have a friend come and try it out. All right, so now we're back. We're gonna go ahead and pair this today with a nice Columbia Crest Cabernet Sauvignon. This is actually made in Columbia Valley, which is highly recommended if you're looking for a good pairing to go with this. I have my friend Don here today, so like I said, I never like to let my food speak for myself. I like to have someone else come in and try it out. So I'm gonna pour this glass of wine. I'm gonna let Don talk a little bit about who she is, and then we'll have a taste test.
All right, well, I am Dawn. I'm a local mom of 7, and so I love watching Mike's videos and just seeing how you can make easy, really good tasting food on a budget. So I'm super excited to dive in. Can I take a bite here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm gonna cut off a little bit. I'm gonna get it into that cheese sauce. Oh my word, that is amazing. It's like super tender, so flavorful. Wow, love it.
All right, and then we're gonna celebrate with a nice little glass of Cabernet.
Cheers.
Cheers. We'll see you guys next time.